Yeah, Chris.
Okay, cool. I was just waiting for you.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We're gonna take a couple minutes for everyone to get in, say hi. I hope you had an amazing conversation like I did in my group. It was so fun. How many people were in your group, Chris?
5, including me. Yeah, it was really good. These discussions have been awesome. Learned a ton.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how everyone has been enjoying this like workshop aspect. Feel free to drop in the chat how you liked it. We want to hear. Yeah, what did your group end up talking about, Chris?
We talked about being very purposeful in the planning process. So one idea that Carly had that I thought was amazing was this idea of like for each roadway or each facility, starting with the end user in mind instead of the facility type, and then going backwards from there. And I thought that was pretty awesome. Like, I want to steal it for my own work. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. And at least ideally, that's what we should be doing. And I think too often we just kind of do a one size fits all approach. Because we had people in our group who represented like commuters who want to ride really fast, and then people who want to ride with like their children, maybe slower or more safely. And how do you balance that was a big part of our discussion.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because there are a lot of different types of users, and like that's a really strong perspective or an important perspective to keep in mind as you're designing and planning out facilities. I really like that was part of the conversation. Yeah, we had a lot of people from, I guess we were split, like from people from like Utah County, more like southern Salt Lake County area, and then Salt Lake City. So it was really cool to see the different perspectives, as Alexa just mentioned. Yeah, feel free to drop in the chat what you guys talked about in your groups as well. We ended up talking, we had a couple of people talk about how they're kind of one of the only ones in their community that are like working towards making a change, and how difficult that is, especially like inside the city. Then a lot of people start assuming they're like the only ones that care about it. And how do we build more community support in those communities that don't have an active group? Bike Walk Provo, we sung your praises there, as well as like some of the other advocacy groups like Southern Utah Bicycle Committee?
Alliance.
No, Advisory Alliance, that's the word. SUBA. I always just call them SUBA because I think that's the coolest acronym. But like how these groups have been able to start up and like stay strong through the years, because it's really hard to like organically create an organization that then can push a community to come up with a vision, right? Like that was like the process of it. It looks like Carly commented, the workshops have been really great. One of the real struggles with virtual events is losing the community feel, connection, and networking aspect that physical gatherings provide. These smaller groups helped build that back in. Carly, I'm so glad that you like them. Like it was like one of our main priorities was trying to like because that's one of the cool things about the Utah Bike Summit is that it is like one of the times where we gather together as people who care about cycling and active transportation and have these conversations. So it's really good to
just to hit on like Carly, what the point she made was like Carly and we've crossed paths a bunch of times because we both live in Provo, but we never really like talked. But now I feel like I'm coming out of this whole workshop with a new friend, right? And like if I saw her in person, I would feel completely okay just saying hi to her and chatting with her now. Yeah, I think it's been great.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, I think it's same for everyone that I had a group with. I feel that, and anyone too that's like here watching today, like feel free to reach out to us. I feel like our community is getting closer through the Utah Bike Summit and events like these, and it's really awesome to connect and see all the all the advocates that we have here.
Yeah.
Good.
I was just going to say, it looks like Jackie was talking about how we spoke about outreach and listening to voices from underserved communities. Also spoke about how to hold entities accountable for their projects and plans. As far as the underserved communities, I don't know that we hit on that specifically, but we did hit on the idea of trying to balance different voices, definitely, and taking into consideration the needs of different people. And that's kind of what we are talking about with using the end user as the ultimate goal and going backwards from there. And I think you could broaden that, right? You could talk about underserved communities in that maybe that persona that you create for that roadway. Like what do they look like? What are their characteristics?
Yeah.
Jace
Mary
saying,
says oh, go ahead.
go on.
I was just going to do Mary's really fast, then you do Jace's. Mary says, one of my favorite discussion points was how youth can establish community ownership through tactical urbanism projects. And if you remember, we posted in the comments before, tactical urbanism can be a lot of different things, but it's usually temporary projects that happen from local communities that they like place and show and demonstrate kind of, we like to think of them as like pilot projects of showing what facilities could potentially be in a community. So it could be using like paint or hay bales or cones to kind of establish a safer, better infrastructure. So that's really cool. And that's true. Youth can definitely be a part of that community ownership, and they should be as well. Great. That sounds like a great conversation, Mary.
Kaylee, I actually want to touch on Kaylee's discussion, because I think we kind of talked about this, but she said they discussed the idea of looking at infrastructure planning through the lens of both utilitarian and recreation use and asking, how do you balance that? And one of the things we kind of came to is that you can actually, maybe sometimes it's not always either or. And I use the example of riding on the Jordan River Parkway, because it has these like metal lips that on the bridges, and if you hit them with your tire just like explodes and gets a pinch flat. And in my mind, I'm just thinking, couldn't there be a better way of transitioning that? And then all of a sudden you have a facility that works for people who want to go fast and people who want to go slow. There's still issues there, but that takes one of those issues out of the way. And it's kind of thinking about it holistically in the same way that we talked about accessibility earlier in the week, that it doesn't always have to be either or.
Yeah, I was thinking, as you're saying, I was just thinking about Amanda King's comments about not just like planning for everybody. And that's really what the All Abilities Bikeway conversation is. So be sure to go check that out if you missed that conversation. We've referenced it a lot during this summit because it was like so impactful, along with many of our other sessions. Jace's group talked about Washington Code, how they altered underpasses for safer Washington County, and how they altered underpasses for safer access, driving to the trailhead versus getting on your bike to the trail. How there's been a complete 180 in Utah for bike infrastructure with grassroots at the forefront, and now we can see support at the federal level. And the hope of the future is youth, and how can they have a seat at the table before they aren't youth anymore, and tactical urbanism, diversifying where cycle clinics are held, the role of bike shops and distributors in access. Wow, geez, you guys talked about so much. I mean, that's kind of how our conversations went as well. You just end up like, it's so cool to be in a room with a bunch of people who care about this topic. Like, I mean, I know, and Jim mentioned earlier that there just weren't enough minutes, because I think we could all just like talk for hours and hours about what we hope for our communities and what we really want to have happen. And that's the whole point of the Utah Bike Summit. And that is actually it for today. If you would like to, you can continue conversations in the lounges. You can connect with people via the Excel Events People tab. But other than that, we just want to say thank you to everybody who came today and participated in these workshops and this advocacy day. It was really exciting. Let us know if you want to see it happen again next year at the Utah Bike Summit, if you want a portion dedicated directly to this bicycle advocacy workshop conversation. And remember that the Utah Bike Summit final days, an outdoor experience, will be in an empty parking lot, basically. And we'll have, it's April 6th, 1 to 4 p.m. Lots of cool experiences. We've been talking about it all day. You can check it out on our website, bikeutah.org/summit. And Burton, I'm going to answer how long we'll be able to log in to this to view old sessions. You'll have 30 days. I just want to bring that up here. Let us know if you have any final comments or questions in the chat. And again, thank you so much. It has been so great to see and meet everybody. Yeah, we love you all.
Thanks, everybody.